morning. I thank God for this opportunity. For today's meditation, I have titled my reflection as Rebuilding the Nation, a Divine Call to Responsibility. Rebuilding a Nation, a divine call to responsibility. Being a citizen of this country, every person has the responsibility to be a part of rebuild the nation by reforming the systems. It is our duty to stand for justice in our society. According to our former Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the only way to build a strong and united nation is through mutual respect and tolerance. We can see the same ideology resonating in the text today and in the context of rebuilding the nation. The book of Ezra begins with a decree from King Cyrus of Persia allowing the Jews to return to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple that had been destroyed by the Babylonians in 587 BC, which many Jews benefited from Cyrus' decree. God's mission went on. All those whose spirits God had aroused got ready to go back to Jerusalem. Building the altar and presenting sacrifices on it was their first task upon arriving in Jerusalem. This embodies the primary type of effort described in Ezra and Nehemiah. The sacrifice rituals performed in the temple of Old Testament and Judaism are strongly linked to it. The labor detailed in these books attests to and reflects the temples and its offerings' prominence in the lives of God's people. Together, worship and labor work hand in hand through the books of Ezra and Nehemiah to rebuild the nation. People's jobs are described when they are related to the temple rebuilding work, which is the main subject of Ezra. Therefore, according to Ezra chapter 2 verse 70, the priests, the Levites, and the singers, the gatekeepers, and the temple servants are particularly listed among those who are returning to Jerusalem. Masons and carpenters were referred because they were required for the construction project. Individuals who lacked the necessary abilities to work directly on the temple nevertheless made contributions to the project by volunteering their labors as free will offerings. Ezra chapter 2 verse 68. Because everyone made some sort of contribution, the reconstruction of the temple was in a sense a community effort. In our contemporary context, as a theological community, we have a responsibility to build our nation. We are an academical community, and so we share our ideologies just like people of Benjamin, Judah, priests, and Levites voluntarily participated in the rebuilding of the temple. They have done their responsible duties by being filled with God's Spirit. According to Max Weber, the ethic of responsibility requires one to take into account the foreseeable results of one's action and to attribute the consequences of positive results to those actions. We have a motto this year, responsible freedom. As we need to utilize the freedom in a positive way, and we need to equip ourselves to walk in the right way to practice in our duty in our day-to-day lives. Many people used to have the negative notion that the theologies and ideologies which we are learning are limited to the portals of theological colleges. I would like to remind all of us what our professors keep telling us, that we are not studying theology but doing theology. We are not only theoretical, rather practical. Our college enlightens and broadens our minds to reform the injustice that is happening in our church and society. It opens us up to the plethora of ways that we can ponder ways of accomplishing justice, which is the very divine call to rebuild the nation and church. According to Paul Lehman, church is the starting point where he places much emphasis on koinonia, fellowship, and unity. Israelites showed their commitment and unity. We need to show our commitment to rebuilding the church in the midst of vulnerabilities. As the Israelites were moved by God's Spirit, as a church we are also moving with God's Spirit to address social issues like corruption and caste discrimination in our churches as well as our nation. In this situation, we need to live our lives like a living sacrifice for Christ. This shows our commitment and passion towards our ministry. It is our responsibility to rebuild the nation and church. We may not have the decree from the king or any authority here on earth to be powerful like the Israelites. We may be feeble and fragile. We may be just academicians, but taking a leap of faith in God and address the situation through God's love to attain justice, peace, and equality in our church and society. When we take this first step like Ezra did, God will make sure to make the impossible possible and help us in rebuilding not only our churches but even our entire nation.